I'm so sick.
We begin with a landmark meeting between two of the world's most powerful leaders, President Joe Biden and China's President Xi Jinping. They spoke for about 3 hours in Indonesia this morning ahead of the upcoming G20.
Yo, he said Xi Jinping. That's right, baby. He's right, though. The GOAT. Top G. He said more like Xi Jinping. Am I right?
G20 summit. U.S. officials say the conversation ranged from Taiwan's future to Russia's war in Ukraine, and the leaders agreed to work together. Nancy Cordes is in Bali for us, traveling with the president. It's where we find her. Nancy, good morning.
Good morning. The meeting lasted for more than 3 hours. Afterwards, President Biden told us he's not looking for conflict, and he believes a Cold War can be avoided, despite years of warnings and threats.
I just met in person with Xi Jinping of the People's Republic of China. He was clear and I was clear that we'll defend American interests and values, promote universal human rights, and stand up for the international order and work in lockstep with our allies and partners. We're going to compete vigorously, but I'm not looking for conflict. I'm looking to manage this competition responsibly.
The leaders of the world's two largest economies sat at long tables facing each other. The two nations at odds over trade, technology, Chinese spying, human rights, and China's growing aggression towards Taiwan. In recent months, China has flown military planes near the self-governed island, firing missiles into the surrounding waters. When House Speaker Nancy Pelosi traveled
I was about to say, yeah, good thing that was unprompted.
To Taiwan this summer, the Chinese retaliated by cutting off communication with U.S. officials.
And I think both sides.
Bro, look, you might not agree with what China wants to do in Taiwan, which, of course, is ironic because, like, your disagreement on the matter is completely irrelevant because the American government is always going to follow the one China policy as they have, despite these, like, attempts at agitation. The thing is, however, that, like, China literally is like, China says they have 3 fucking goals. Okay? And their 3 goals are, do not interfere with our Taiwan policy, which America will only agitate but never truly actually interfere with. Okay? And do not interfere with our operations in the region, which America will not interfere with, but will, again, do whatever the fuck it can to make it seem like they're actually interfering and, like, just do a little bit of saber rattling. I forget what the third one is, but it's like all of them still are about a country that's, like, maybe trying to do irredentist shit, right? Or a country that is absolutely trying to, a country that is, you know, whether you agree with it or not, like I said, trying to maintain its influence over another country, whether you think it's a part of the original country, whether you think all of China belongs, all of mainland China belongs to Taiwan, doesn't fucking matter, okay? What doesn't change in this circumstance is America. What the fuck is America doing? Why is America involved? Like, all of these conversations revolve around, like, people being like, America, please don't interfere in this shit.
Sides realize that if we keep going down the path that we're headed on, that will be conflict.
China expert Scott Kennedy says Russia's invasion of Ukraine is also on the agenda. The Chinese initially stood by Russia, but that was before Ukraine began taking back territory.
They know where.
Also chip manufacturing. And also, they're going to talk about North Korean bombs. They're going to tell China to tell North Korea to fucking chill out. They're going to talk about Russia. They're going to try to see if, like, China will continue supporting, or at least, like, not criticizing Russia, not joining the rest of the world. Not rest of the world, rest of the developed nations on the planet. And Western nations on, like, being critical to Russia. And that's it. That's what they're going to fucking ask them.
Where their economic bread is buttered with the West, not with Russia.
Today, President Xi argued they can both do better.
The world expects that China and the United States will properly handle the relationship.
Russia is also a member of the G20, but President Biden will not have an opportunity to confront Russian President Vladimir Putin at this summit in Bali. And that's because Putin has decided not to attend in the face of his faltering.
Wait, what? You should delete TikTok, Hasan. Fuck no. Bro, the CCP compromised you. You should delete TikTok, Hasan.
Invasion of Ukraine. Tony?
Faltering is a word for
violence and voter intimidation. There was an emphatic statement.
And we're now listening to President Biden speaking after his meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping.
I have.
Wait, what? It's actually wild to see Xi Jinping make a statement like that. It gives me a little hope. Dude, what? If you've ever listened to fucking Chinese policy on anything, they're the fucking kings of like, let's not rock the boat, please. Bro, they're literally, they're always saying that shit. That's not new. That's not new at all. Why would they? Why would they? They're fucking crushing right now. Why the fuck would they try to rock the boat? They're literally destroying. Their economy's doing all right despite the instabilities in the housing market and whatnot. Like, China is fucking chilling. They're going through their own version of the 80s and 90s. Like, they now have like a middle class that is buying shit like crazy. Also, despite the manpower that the Chinese military has, and, you know, I'm afraid I might lose some social credit for saying this, the military is kind of dog, okay? Like, they have a lot of manpower, but it's not great. Take that back right now. I mean, dude, at a certain point, you got to realize, like, a country that has never stopped being in war, like the United States of America, is probably still going to have like a better troop mobilization. And even then, you still lose the fucking guerrilla warfare, right? But I guess, like, state by state conflict, I don't think state by state conflict will ever happen in the way that it did during World War II, but, you know, not a lot. They're if you were to do something similar, you know, boots on the ground military warfare, like, they're not exactly super good about that.
I've traveled this week, and it's been clear just how closely the world and our allies and our competitors as well have been following our elections at home. Excuse me, I have a little cold. And what these elections showed is that there's a deep and unwavering commitment in America to preserving and protecting and defending democracy. Now, let me speak briefly about our agenda over the past few days in Egypt and in Cambodia and here in Indonesia. In this moment of great global challenges, from global inflation to the climate crisis to Russia's brutal war against Ukraine, we're bringing together the broadest possible coalition of partners to deliver results. At COP27 in Egypt, I made it clear that thanks to the bold agenda of our administration, we pursue from day one to tackle the climate crisis and advance energy and security at home and around the world. The United States will meet our emissions targets under the Paris Agreement. And we're going to keep working with our partners to support the most vulnerable countries in building resilience to climate impacts and to align global ambition with the 1.5 degrees Celsius goal while supercharging our clean energy transition. At the U.S.
A man in my hometown was arrested on espionage charges for the CCP. Really weird to see it. It was probably some Huawei shit, right? Isn't that who they like? That was the last batch of people that they arrested. The Department of, was it the Homeland Security Department? No, it wasn't even. DOJ came out and we're like, yo, we arrested a bunch of CCP agents, and it was like literally corporate espionage for Huawei. Even the people in Quebec is the same.
ASEAN Summit. In the East Asia Summit, I laid out a commitment to working with our partners in the Indo-Pacific to ensure a future that's vital to this region, that's free and open and prosperous as well as secure.
Oh, God, what's he
And
looking
I
at?
met with our allies from Australia, Japan, and the Republic of Korea, underscoring our commitment and deepening our engagement with our closest partners and strengthening cooperation among our allies to meet shared threats to our own security and to their security, including the DPRK. And let me meet, I just met in person with Xi Jinping of the People's Republic of China. We had, excuse me, we had an open and candid conversation about our intentions and our priorities. It was clear, he was clear and I was clear.
I spat on him. I coughed on him, Jack. They're scared of COVID out there.
And stand up for the international order and work in lockstep with our allies and partners. We're going to compete vigorously, but I'm not looking for conflict. I'm looking to manage this competition responsibly. And I want to make sure that every country abides by the international rules of the road. And we discussed that. The One China policy, our One China policy has not changed. Has not changed. We oppose unilateral change in the status quo by either side, and we're committed to maintaining the peace and stability in the Taiwan Straits. It was also clear that China and the United States should be able to work together where we can to solve global challenges that require every nation to do its part. We discussed Russia's aggression against Ukraine, reaffirmed our shared belief in the threat or the use of nuclear weapons is totally unacceptable. And I asked that Secretary Blinken travel to China to follow up on our discussions and continue keeping the lines of communication open between our two countries. Looking ahead at the G20 meetings tomorrow, we're going to be taking on the very issues that matter to the people's lives, not only here, but also our allies and our partners. That means tackling the suffering that Russian aggression has unleashed, not just in Ukraine people, but the people around the world, particularly food insecurity, and strengthening the fundamentals of our global economy for everyone. Support for debt relief, reforms for multilateral development banks, investments to bolster global health security, and to make sure the world is better prepared for the next pandemic. The G20 has been an important forum for the world's largest economies to work together for the good of people everywhere. And I'm looking forward to our meetings tomorrow. Now let me close with this. On my first trip overseas last year, I said that America was back. Back at home, back at the table, and back to leading the world. In the year and a half that's followed, we've shown exactly what that means.
Damn, bro, you can't say that right in front of China. They're going to hear.
America's keeping its commitments. America's investing in our strength at home. America's working alongside our allies and partners to deliver real, meaningful progress around the world. And at this critical moment, no nation is better positioned to help build the future we want than the United States of America. Now, I'm happy to take questions, and I'm told there are going to be 4 questioners, but I'm not going to do 10 questions from each questioner. All right? Let's make that clear at the outset here. And Ken Thomas, Wall Street Journal.
You said at the outset of this meeting that you did not want competition to turn into conflict. Based on this meeting,
Get ready for some of the bloodthirstiest fucking questions that an 800-year-old man is going to have a very hard time fumbling over and trying to answer, okay? They're going to be like, Mr. President, why don't you want to nuke Beijing? Journalists in this moment behave like the unhinged chatters that like to play puppet master. You know what I mean? You know how like unhinged chatters love playing puppet master? They're like, Hasan, this person said this about you. Care to respond? And then they can like clip it and ship it. That's what journalism is half the time. A lot of you parasitic, parasocial freaks in the chat would make great vulturous journalists.
today, do you believe a new Cold War with China can be avoided? And specifically on the issue of Taiwan, you spoke about intentions. Do you believe China is intending to invade Taiwan at some point? And what warnings did you issue to President Xi if he were to take such action?
Well, to answer the first part of your question, I absolutely believe there's need not be a new Cold War. I've met many times with Xi Jinping, and we were candid and clear with one another across the board. And I do not think there's any imminent attempt on the part of China to invade Taiwan. And I made it clear that our policy on Taiwan has not changed at all. It's the same exact position we've had. I made it clear that we want to see cross.
Okay, now that they hit that, now they're going to be like, well, okay, but what if China keeps escalating military conflict against Taiwan? Watch.
Trade issues peacefully resolved, and so it never has to come to that. And I'm convinced that he understood exactly what I was saying. I understood what he was saying. And look, I think the United States is better prepared than any country in the world, economically and politically, to deal with the changing circumstances around the world. And I think that I think Xi Jinping is. We agreed that we would set up a set of circumstances where, on issues that we had to further resolve details, we agreed that we would have our chief of staff, the appropriate cabinet members and others sit and meet with one another to discuss the details of every issue that was raised, and we raised a lot of issues. Sung Kim, Associated Press.
Mr. President, you met with President Xi, and you met with him face-to-face after he had unquestionably consolidated his power at home. So now that you've met with him face-to-face, how do you assess his sort of posture towards the United States now? And did you find him personally to be more confrontational or more conciliatory and willing to compromise?
Neither and yes. Yes, I didn't find him more.
Loki is not as bad as I thought it was going to be. They're being relatively nice and even-handed with the questioning.
More confrontational or more conciliatory. I found him the way he's always been, direct and straightforward. And do I think he's willing to compromise on various issues? Yes. I think he understands that. Look, I think, how can I say this tactfully? I think I think the election held in the United States, which still leaves a little bit uncertain, has sent a very strong message around the world that the United States is ready to play. The United States is the Republicans who survived, along with the Democrats, are of the view that we're going to stay fully engaged in the world, and that we, in fact, know what we're about. And so I don't.
Bro, this is elder abuse. Like, if you think the PP should be charged for elder abuse for having gay sex with Paul Pelosi, I'm sorry. Everyone in the fucking Democratic Party should be charged with elder abuse. That's crazy. This man, like, he hasn't slept. He's on God knows how many fucking hours. He's done. He's burnt. There's nothing behind those eyes, baby. I'm telling you right now, nothing.
Get any sense that there's a more or less confrontation. We were very blunt with one another about places where we disagreed or where we were uncertain of each other's position, and we agreed we'd set up, and we did, mechanisms whereby we would meet in detail with the key people in each of our administrations to discuss how we could resolve them, or how, if they weren't resolved, on what basis were they not resolved. Sebastian Smith, the AFP.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. It's extremely close. Excuse me, I don't usually talk that loudly. Does the retaking of Hasan in Ukraine signal a turning point in the war, in your opinion? that the Ukrainians could realistically pursue their ultimate goal of expelling the Russians completely, including retaking Crimea? If so, does the US intend to support and facilitate that goal, as you've been doing so far with their other goals? Or would you perhaps see Hasan as a different kind
sounds
of
like
inflection
Hasan.
point?
Classic.
Basically a good time to start negotiating now that they've got some more strength than they had a few weeks ago.
First of all, it was a significant victory for Ukraine. Significant victory. And I can do nothing but applaud the courage, determination, and capacity of the Ukrainian people and the Ukrainian military. I mean, they have really been amazing. And I think it's hard to tell at this point exactly what it means in terms of, but I've been very clear that we're going to continue to provide the capability for the Ukrainian people to defend themselves, and we are not going to engage in any negotiation. There's nothing about Ukraine without Ukraine. It's a decision Ukraine has to make. I think you're going to see things slow down a bit because of the winter months and the inability to move as easily around the country. But I think it remains to be seen exactly what the outcome will be, except that I'm confident that Russia will not occupy or defend Ukraine as they intended from the beginning. I can't have trouble reading this. Reuters, Netanyahu.
Half of you motherfuckers love Monkey D. Luffy and say he's so fucking cute when he's eating all the time. You're like, oh my God, that's my favorite character. That's my favorite character in One Piece. Eating all the time. But when your favorite political commentator eats, you're like, no, you can't eat. You can't eat on stream. You can't do that. Like, what do you want me to fucking die, dude? What do you want me to do? Not eat? Not serve you the top of the hour ad break? And tell you that at the top of the hour there's a 6-second ad break, and if you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe for $5 or for free? Huh? Is that what you want? Or get gifted a sub if you're lucky. Here's the 1-minute ad break now.
President, quick question on North Korea.
It would not be directed against China, but it would be to send a clear message to North Korea. We are going to defend our allies as well as American soil and American capacity. And so, I do not think that it's difficult to determine whether or not China has the capacity. I'm confident China is not looking for North Korea to engage in further escalatory means, because I made it clear, and I made it clear from the very beginning and last year as well, that we will do what it needs to defend our capacity, to defend ourselves and our allies, South Korea, as well as Japan, and that we'd be more up in the face of China, but it wouldn't be because of China. It'd be because of what was going on in North Korea. So, again, on a number of these issues.
The only person I recognize the honk shoe me arguments for is Joe Biden. Joe Biden as a person, unironically, is a perfect representation of honk shoe me. Like, when he goes to sleep at Air Force One, he's saying honk shoe and he's saying me. And there's like a big like snot bubble that like flies out of his nose and then goes back in, and he like keeps sucking the snot bubble, making it larger and larger. You know what I mean? Like that's the type of shit that he's doing. There's maybe like even a piece of paper that flies over, and then like he's just, every time he honks the paper comes closer to his face, and then he shoos, and then he pushes it away from his face in a comical capacity. A feather, not even a piece of paper. You're right. So yeah, that is definitely happening.
We have put together teams where our National Security Advisor, Secretary of Defense, and others are going to be engaging with their counterparts from China to see, and we're not going to be able to work everything out. I'm not suggesting this is kumbaya, everybody.
Like I said earlier, he still sounds way more sensible than Trump, who you seem to love and never criticize. When has Trump ever fielded foreign policy questions with in-depth answers? Wait, what? He still sounds way more sensible than Trump, who you seem to love and never criticize. This can't be real, right? Uh-huh. No. He's just memeing, right? My goodness, I can't believe I subscribed to this dog shit analysis, but that's how it goes with subscribing to you. Just gonna stick around until you get back to more rational analysis. What? Oh my God, he's not even joking. These purity standards you espouse can be exhausting to listen to. Dude, I don't know what it is, man. I'm a magnet, dude. I think it's just politics. I think when you talk about politics, you inevitably will always have like a bunch of cranks get involved. Now I feel like this is real. I mean, that's crazy. 16-month sub. I can't tell if it's real or not. Fuck. It's fascinating having you watching how you describe Biden with so much disdain and disgust, but fawn and gush over Trump just because you think he's good for your bottom line and entertaining. No, I think this person despises my takes. Oh my God. Audio backseating, check. Politics mocking, check. Get involved, check. Pocket watching, check. Negging while sub, check. Yeah, he hit all the high notes for a long-term community member. I'm 34 and black. It made me tear up. I did not watch your stream because I watched all of the hearing and definitely thought it was heartfelt as a black person. I hate it when people who only watch snippets react lazily without realizing what led up to that moment. Oh no, this is genuine. Beto has been beating the drums on gun violence and you're just casually writing him off as another Dem stooge. This is why you come to me, 34-year-old demon bits, and not wherever the fuck you're getting your information from otherwise. Because, you know, like it or not, I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm going to tell you the cold hard truth sometimes, okay? What happened to Beto? Question for guest Cameron. It's still hard to imagine Parkland happened. We all thought it may have triggered a new generation of activists, but instead, I mean, he's a well-intentioned guy. He's just libbed up. That's it. I love people like this. This guy 100% votes, okay? This guy votes and loves to vote. Do you understand? Loves to vote more than anything else. He loves voting. And guess what, man? We need libbed up guys like this. They make up a large chunk of the people who don't even say anything in the chat half the time. A lot of the broader audience is pretty libbed up. If you ever talk to political normies, you'll recognize like they don't have really like a super consistent ideology or anything like that that's guiding their political motivations, is guiding their political decisions. It's just usually like I'm a Democrat and they're empathetic and they kind of just subscribe to the Democratic Party as the end all be all of politics. Let's see your knowledge of Black Twitter. On December 21st, 2028, what were black people waiting around to get? I don't know. I have no idea. Also, this is a trap. I'm not going to do that. Dude, I'm going to be honest with you. If I were to answer any of these questions, I'd be canceled so fucking fast. You're out of your mind. That's a trap. I'm not touching that at all. I am entirely too Caucasian to be touching that, especially prominently in front of 45,000 people. You're out of your fucking mind, brother. All right.
He's going to go away with everything in agreement. But I do not believe there's a need for concern of as one of you raised the legitimate question, a new Cold War. And I think that I'll conclude by saying it this way. I want to be clear, and be clear with all leaders, but particularly with Xi Jinping, that I mean what I say and I say what I mean. So there's no misunderstanding. That's the biggest concern I have is a misunderstanding about intentions or actions on each of our parts. So we went into, I look at my team, how long did that meeting last? 3.5 hours. So we covered an awful lot of territory. And I must say that he was as straightforward as he has been with me in the past. And I think that we understand one another, which is the most important thing that can be done. I guess all of you are going swimming from here. It's not far. But
Mr. President, what should Americans expect from Congress as it relates to abortion rights after the midterms?
I don't think they can expect much of anything other than we're going to maintain our positions. I'm not going to get into more questions. I shouldn't even answer your question. No, I don't think that. I don't think there's enough votes to codify unless something happens unusual in the House. I think we're going to get very close in the House, but I think it's going to be very close, but I don't think we're going to make it. Thanks.
All right, thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube.